Jake Jabs is as much a Colorado as John Elway or the Denver Broncos. His new book, Thriving in Tough Times. This is great. Jake, I grew up with you. I'm surprised you were able to survive all the animal attacks.
I got a couple scratches, but that's it.
Why animals, by the way? It worked. When I was a kid, I would see you getting mauled by some tiger. I thought that was the coolest damn thing.
Two stories there real quick. We have 3 daughters, my wife and I, and when they said we got them a puppy for Christmas, and they said, "Dad, you should put the puppy on TV," and I did, and right away the phone started ringing, and people started offering us their animals. About the same time, there was an outfit filming a Johnny Hawes Lincoln Mercury, and the cougar was a symbol for the Mercury car,
right.
And he had exotic animals. He brought the pictures down. He said, "Jake, you should use exotic animals on your," and I didn't see it. I said, right. Animals and furniture, I don't get it. My secretary always wanted to pet a baby tiger. So she conned him in to bring a baby tiger down. Her office is right next to mine. So I go down to work the next morning. Here's all the employees gathered around. "Oh, there's a baby tiger. Can I pet the baby tiger?" So I saw some interest there in exotic animals versus domestic animals. So we start using his animals, and it's become a trademark with us now.
All right, you are by far the largest furniture seller in Colorado.
Yeah, actually, the new poll just came out. We have a 70% market share.
70%?
Which I never thought we'd be there, but that's what this new poll said.
All right, so in other words, 70% of all couches sold in Colorado comes from you. You have to take all the cat fur off of them, but yourself. I tell you what, before we get to these, and you've got some terrific ideas in this, I want to talk about competition. You've never shied away from competition. I mean, and as a guy who has a huge market share, usually, when you have a market share in a business, you try to use the government to make sure nobody else comes into your business. One of the things you advocate, even in this, is welcome your competition and take them on. Yeah. Why?
You remember when I first started here, the big player was Weberg's. They had 13 stores, and Levitt's had like 2 stores here and 1 in Colorado Springs. They had 200 stores. They were the big player, Levitt's, and I was a 1-store operation down on Bannock, if you probably remember. And I took them on, and just what I did is it was a better operation. If you have a better operation, by operations I mean everything from selling honestly, not overselling, warehousing and having it in stock, and then having delivery drivers that deliver it right, which the delivery drivers work for me, and I control the delivery. So I control everything from my advertising on down to the delivery drivers, and you do a better job. So little by little, Levis is gone, Weberg is gone, Rhodes is gone. There's a list that long of furniture stores left. Montgomery Awards. Remember May D&F and Denver Dry used to be big players in furniture. They got out of the furniture because they weren't competitive. Being an independent entrepreneur, you can outdo them. I can turn on a dime.
You can make decisions. You know what to buy, when to buy.
Exactly.
And also, you know Colorado. I mean, you know your customers more than anyone else.
I can buy for Colorado. I know what people here want. And we buy from 300 different companies. That's the advantage we really have over, say, like IKEA's coming to town. They buy from pretty much all foreign companies, and they're tied into these foreign factories and stuff all over. Actually, they buy in Poland and Russia and Sweden and a lot of stuff out of Mexico and China, but they're tied into these companies. Well, we're not that way. We're not tied into anybody. I can buy from anybody. It's a smorgasbord out there.
It's almost like your Walmart, and that these companies keep coming up to you, they've got to cut their prices if they want to go. Let's talk a little bit about IKEA. I'm driving down I-25, and all of a sudden this mammoth billboard pops up, triangle that says IKEA in this big blue building, and I'm thinking, I wonder what my buddy Jake thinks about this. He must not be too happy.
They didn't let me build a sign like
exactly. Now, and obviously you're not too happy about it, but it's not the competition, it's the corporate welfare. Yeah. Now you have, if people haven't gone to your place down in Douglas County, it's like
670,000 square feet.
It's the Astrodome.
You can put 17 footballs in the side.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. And Douglas County gave you some incredible tax breaks in order to invest in that. How much?
Zero. None.
They didn't give you any break on building fees, property taxes?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
IKEA, who's going to be a direct competitor of yours, they obviously got zero in tax breaks as well, right?
No. You don't read the Denver Business Journal.
What did they get?
Oh, they got like 3 years of the tax. When you're going to buy something and you pay sales tax, the money goes to IKEA. Most of it, for like 3 years, and then after that it goes into sliding scale. So actually paying taxes on what should go to schools and infrastructure and things like that is going to IKEA to pay for their infrastructure around their building.
In other words, when you see that IKEA building, you ought to say, wait a second, when I pay sales tax when I buy a coffee table there, it's not going to the city of Centennial to build for all the infrastructure around. It's just extra profit for IKEA.
Eventually it goes to IKEA, but I mean to Centennial, but it's down the road. Well, IKEA is, very smart. What they do, they shop. They shop Lone Tree. Lone Tree turned them down. So they went to Centennial, and Centennial gave them all kinds of tax breaks to build a building. They're are politicians, and they know how to push the right buttons to get all these incentives.
All right, let me play devil's advocate, because I hear this all. Devil's advocate, get it? Cute up. I hear all the economic development types, the chambers of commerce, who love this type of corporate welfare, because they'll say, yes, we gave them some incentives, but the jobs we're going to get, the money that's going to come into our economy is obviously worth it. By this small little incentive is now going to give us a huge amount of growth.
Like this Gaylord thing, which is hot right now. They're
right,
entertainment
in Aurora.
Center. If
$300 million worth of corporate welfare.
If Gaylord, if they want to come to town, they want to build. God bless them. But it should be their money. Why should it be our tax dollars supporting Gaylord or IKEA or anybody else? I came up from a small band. I started with nothing, a little guitar studio in Bowdoin, Montana, playing my guitar, teaching guitar. And finally got in the furniture business. Found out everybody needed furniture, not everybody needed a guitar. But I did it all on my own. It was entrepreneurship and to me, that's the way it should be. I don't think the government, sure they'll give Gaylord. Well, what about all the hotels and stuff downtown and our city center and all that stuff? What about that? And what about small businesses? They don't get these breaks. Small business is what it's all about.
And there's still small businesses that sell furniture. Right?
Absolutely.
They don't have 70% market
just
share.
Drive around town, you'll see little furniture stores around.
So if the city of Centennial is going to give IKEA a break and say for the first 3 years, all the tax that your customers pay in sales tax will actually go into your pocket, what happens to mom and pa's
They don't get
store?
nothing, and that's not right. That's not right. Really, in a way, the small business should be the one that gets more help than the big business, because they're the ones that need it more. You don't have any money. The money goes back, and they need the money to buy equipment and computers and trucks and stuff like that. That's what's unfair about it. It's not right. Just like Gaylord building that big hotel, it's not fair to the other hotels, and convention centers for them to get all these tax breaks, $300 million tax breaks.
What scares me is that there's a small power elite, whether it's the city council of Aurora or the city council in Centennial, that have decided, well, this is going to be good for us. I'm going to do business with you at the expense of doing business over there. I've always felt that government's job was to be a referee, to make sure that everyone is treated the same way, so that when you competed with Levitt's, that they didn't choose the winner and loser.
It's called a level playing field, and it's called greed. That's what it was about, greed. Centennial was greedy, and because they wanted IKEA in there, and eventually they'll get more sales tax and growth. But anyway, it's called greed. And it's not a level playing field. That's what's wrong about it. It's not a level playing field. If you're competing with other people, I'm competing with other furniture stores, and there's still a lot of furniture stores around. It's a level playing field. So all of a sudden, like you say, you got this government help, and it's not a level playing field.
Well, then all of a sudden, government is invested in IKEA. Now, what happens if IKEA gets into trouble? And now, do we bail out IKEA?
Exactly.
Were you ever offered to be bailed out?
Never.
When your music shop wasn't doing so well, I'm sure Montana.
Well, you remember the 85s here in Colorado. You were here. Man, you talk about tough times. I closed 5 stores. I had 9 stores. In 85, that big recession, I closed 5 stores, really all started over. Got rid of all my bad stores and started over again. And that's the way it should be. By the way, I don't believe in bankruptcies either, by the way. I think bankruptcies are a cop-out. I think before you're going bankrupt, you should reorganize yourself, sell stores, close businesses, whatever you need to do. But you rip off creditors, and the creditors take the heat in a bankruptcy, and they lose money. And that's just bad for all these creditors to be losing money. Bankruptcy is a cop-out. We shouldn't have a bankruptcy law.
Given that IKEA is got this huge advantage, how are you concerned as a businessman? This has got to be one of the biggest competitions and threats to you in your years of doing things.
I don't think they were as much threat as Weberg's or Levitt's or Montgomery Ward's or some of those. No, because what they are is they're a foreign company, and they buy from foreign factories. I shopped them. I shopped a lot of them. In fact, I call some of my departments IKEA departments, because we sell all the same type of furniture, the RTA, ready-to-assemble furniture. So I've sold that really since day one, So, but the thing that I can do, we buy from over 300 factories, and I can move on a dime, and I can play these factories and go out and get bargains. Well, they're tied to these foreign factories, and they got so many stores, and what happened, like they have their own factory, Swedenwood or something out of Sweden, and what they can do is the factories can keep raising their prices. I know I had a factory for 37 years. In Montana, so you can keep raising your prices a little bit, and you become uncompetitive because it's your factory or your supplier that the prices are not competitive. Been there and done that.
All right. Talk to me a little bit about thriving in tough times. You've been through a few recessions. You mentioned
seven.
I remember the 80s. It was a great time for me because I was just kind of getting out of college, but I didn't care. It was my old man's problem, and so you had to deal with that. What was the biggest lesson? I mean, I'm talking about on a personal level. You've got some pretty tough love ideas in this little
recessions
booklet.
are frustrating. What happens when a recession first starts, you get so frustrated. Nothing works. You run your best ads. You wave your magic wand, and people just they're not buying because of they're afraid of unemployment and the market conditions or whatever. Very frustrating. So what you need to do is you need to look around and tighten up. I cut back on my advertising. I fired my general manager. We were delivering out of 3 warehouses. I closed one of the warehouses, delivered out of 2 warehouses. So I consolidated my operation, and I actually made money all the way through the recession. Even in 08, which was when we took a big dip, but made money. Didn't make a lot, but made some money. In 09 and 010, we already started making good profit. But you cut back where you have to, and maybe advantage of being a private company too is you're fired. I'm sorry. Market condition says you're fired, so you can get away with some of that without repercussions from the.
For the guy who's working on a tight family budget right now, what's the biggest advice you have for him? I mean, not everybody is a furniture mogul. There's some guy out there who's working at McDonald's and he's having a tough time. What do you tell him?
Interest. I've never made a car payment. The first car I had, I worked my way through college, paid $600 for a car cash, paid cash for cars.
$500 on mine.
Drive older cars, I'm driving an 07 car right now, and you can put 300,000-400,000 miles on a car today. Pay cash for cars, stay out of debt. Credit cards. I gave a speech at Metro State, and a lot of people are going to start in business. We're going to start business on a credit card. Huge mistake. Credit card company, the 23-24% interest, then they pay you late, they give you penalties and all that stuff. So you're working for the credit card company. I've never made a house payment. I never bought a house till I get paid cash.
We'd like you to get out of my house too.
But you see what you
see. The idea is not paying.
Yeah, but stay in a liquid position so you don't get into debt. Keep your credit good. Stay away from their credit cards. Pay cash for stuff, and then you become liquid.
Jake, you're a hero of mine. I can't. It's great to get to know you after all these years. It's been a kick. Listen for me the late nights on 850 KOA. Check out American Furniture Warehouse. They still got it going. Tell a friend about the Independence Institute. We'll see you next week.